So with lots of headlines about buyers now having to pay agents directly, I've been asked quite a few times if it's possible to buy a house without a realtor and save the money. Well, the answer is yes, but I'm David Hargreaves, one of the top realtors in Sonoma County. In less than 20 minutes, I'll tell you everything you need to know about how to buy a house without a realtor, from the first step you need to take and how to close the deal. So yes, there's a way to save money and buy a house on your own, but you need to do it the right way so you don't end up regretting it or ending up spending more than if you used a realtor. So how can you buy a house without a realtor? Well, the first thing is obviously to determine your budget. The first and most crucial step is to really figure out how much you can afford. Ideally, aim to keep your home within budget within 3 to 5 times your gross household income. But more than this, it's important for you to consider your monthly payment capacity. This includes factoring in any existing debts you may have, such as car loans or student loans. For a lot of people, they'll be able to get pre-approved for a bigger mortgage than they're actually prepared to pay on a monthly basis, particularly when things like insurance have got so much more expensive. So the second thing you need to do is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. This involves obtaining a pre-approval letter from a lender which outlines how much money they're willing to lend you. Not only does this give you a clear idea of your price, but it also strengthens your position when actually making an offer on a property. For many people, this sounds like a daunting process, but as long as your affairs aren't too complex and you've got your latest tax returns, a lender should be able to at least give you an estimate of what you should be able to afford within 24 hours of getting all that information. So the third thing to think about is actually researching the neighbourhoods and properties. So once you've got your budget and the pre-approval sorted, the next step is really to dig in and find out more about the neighbourhoods that fit your lifestyle. If you are moving within an area where you already own a property or where you rent, this is pretty straightforward. However, if you are moving to a new area or are buying a property in an area where you just aren't familiar with the different neighbourhoods, it's still possible to do the research, just given the number of resources there are online, like the videos I create for people looking to move to Sonoma County, for example. However, once it comes down to the micro neighbourhoods or nuanced weather patterns like we have, say, in Sebastopol in Sonoma County, then it's hard to beat the knowledge of somebody who's local and on the ground. The other important aspect is to try to determine which of the areas that represent best value and will likely get improved over time. Every town has these areas. For example, Healdsburg is undergoing a huge improvement project on the north end of town, which will definitely impact prices in the same way that homes around the new smart train stations across Sonoma County will likely do the same, but that's quite hard to figure out without specialist local market knowledge. So the fourth thing to do is find a property. With a good understanding of the market and the neighbourhoods, you can start your search for the perfect place. There are so many different resources online that you can use to find properties. This is probably the easiest bit of the search. However, you'll be surprised how many properties sell before they ever actually come on the market, especially in a market that's tougher for sellers. Or in situations where there are some complex rules and regulations to navigate, such as looking to find a property that's vacation rental eligible for a new buyer. There's so many different rules and regulations, it takes an expert to help navigate all the different nuances. That's why we do so well in the vacation rental space, because we've got a deep expertise in that particular area. If you're looking to find real value, it takes a detailed knowledge of the local market, literally at a street by street level. We work with a number of clients who do flips, and we do our own, which will often involve buying a rundown property, replacing floors, kitchens, bathrooms, and then reselling it. However, every now and again, we find something that is just underpriced because maybe the agent who's listing it doesn't know the nuances of that market. My business partner recently bought a property in Lakewood in Windsor, which was on the lake, and sold it for significantly more money literally just a few months later, having given it nothing more than a coat of paint. It was just undervalued from the outset, so it was a great opportunity. So the fifth thing to consider is hiring a lawyer. Once you find a property and want to make an offer, you're going to need somebody like a lawyer to write up the contract. So it's a good idea to know a real estate lawyer up front to help with the legal aspects of the purchase. They can review all the contracts, ensure all the paperwork's properly handled, and also protect your interests throughout the transaction. The one thing I would say is if I'm representing a seller, and a buyer comes along wanting to do a transaction with a lawyer, I would probably make it clear to the seller that in my experience, whenever a lawyer gets involved in a transaction, the transaction, to be honest, it rarely ever happens, or if it does, it may take 5 times longer. They understand the law, but they don't understand how to necessarily create a deal that works for both parties. But do you know something that would make you succeed even more? If you subscribe to my channel to receive new videos like this one, and also updates about living in Sonoma County. I promise you that if you subscribe, I'll continue to bring you more and more videos about the lifestyle, new arrivals, real estate tips, so don't hesitate to click that like and subscribe button. So next, let's talk about the offer process. So before making an offer, you'll want to get a copy of the seller disclosures and also any inspections that they've completed. At least this way, you're making your offer based on the known information. If you are going to use a lawyer to write up the offer, then you'll need to do it on a car form. While as a lawyer, they can obviously read and understand the forms, they probably don't know that there are 45 different terms that are negotiable on a standard purchase agreement in California. I mean, price is one of those things, but that means there's 44 others. Knowing how to leverage those terms through the negotiation process to every buyer's individual situation is the key to getting the best possible deal for a buyer. Once you have your offer accepted, you'll also need to reach out to a title officer at an escrow company to open escrow, but also help you understand if there are any items on the preliminary title report that may be problematic for a new buyer. Knowing a friendly title officer who will really dig into the easements can definitely save you a lot of trouble down the line. For example, we recently sold a property for a client who bought it represented by the listing agent. What the listing agent either didn't tell him or didn't know is that the property was technically not accessible because there were no easements over neighbouring properties to actually get to his property. I mean, we found this out when we opened the prelim as part of listing the property. This actually cost the seller tens of thousands of dollars in lost value in the property. And that was just through being represented by the listing agent when he purchased the property originally. So once you've got your offer accepted, depending on the terms of the offer and the contingencies you put in place, you'll likely want to conduct some sort of due diligence on the property by arranging inspections. If it's a rural property, you'll want to probably get a well inspection, septic inspection, as well as a pest and a home inspection. I mean, not all inspectors are equal, so it's definitely important to find one, and in the case of septic, someone who's actually licensed, not just a pumper who so-called does inspections. While you need to complete about 10 different documents as part of making the offer, the total document package to actually purchase a residential property in California now runs between 99 and 110 documents. I mean, it's crazy. If you are paying a lawyer who's not familiar with all these documents, then they'll need to wade through a few hundred pages of documents they're likely not familiar with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, the benefit of a realtor is that we know our way around all these documents, so it can help clients quickly see the wood from the trees, literally. So lastly, you want to close the deal, but only once the terms are agreed upon and all the paperwork is in order. I mean, to proceed to the close of sale, you need to make sure everything is in place with your lender to finalize the mortgage, including making sure the home gets appraised for the right value, and then getting all the final closing documents drawn up prior to the lender releasing the loan documents for signing prior to the close of escrow. So should you consider buying a house without a realtor? Well, there's definitely some advantages for sure, but there's also some disadvantages to think about. So let's start with the advantages. First off, you could save on the commission, no question. Typically, you would expect to pay a good buyer's agent 2.5% of the purchase price. Or rather, a good agent will likely be able to negotiate that from the seller. So if a seller no longer needs to pay 2.5% to a buyer's agent, you might be able to lower the price. Not only that, but dealing directly with the seller can sometimes simplify the negotiations, especially if it's a simple purchase without too many complexities. However, it can also go the other way as well. Going through the process on your own can also be a great learning experience. You'll deep dive into the market research, the legal requirements, negotiation tactics, and that could actually help you if you wanted to do it for the second time. Plus, you have complete control over the process, making decisions without the influence of a third party such as a realtor. And if you're looking at properties that are for sale by owner, then these homes may be priced lower because the sellers are avoiding realtor fees altogether. So now let's look at the disadvantages. Well, one of the biggest disadvantages, a good realtor is more likely to be able to negotiate a better deal, for sure. As a buyer, it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of it all. I can't tell you how many times a buyer said to me, let's offer X, and I've advised them to offer 20, 30, 40k lower and still managed to put the deal together. So that's the buyer's agent fees saved right there. In fact, I'm talking to a seller at the moment who purchased the property directly from the owner with no realtor involved in the negotiation. And to be honest, they probably paid at least 20% too much for the property. We're now looking at selling it for 150k less than they paid for it literally just 4 months ago. I mean, it was definitely an expensive mistake. Another big risk by going into loan is that of litigation. Realtors know how to avoid getting their clients into hot water when it comes to disclosures. In addition to that, we understand how to identify red flags with things like septic systems or wells or easements that might cause a problem for an owner while they own it, or more particularly when they come to sell it. If you've got a full-time job, you should be aware that the entire process, I mean, it can be very time-consuming, and that's for realtors who are doing it day in, day out. Searching for homes, scheduling viewings, negotiating, getting all the paperwork done, organising inspections. I mean, this can quickly become overwhelming, especially in a competitive market when everything is moving so quickly. I mean, this is where realtors can really help streamline the process. If you are looking for a home in a competitive market, one of the benefits of working with a realtor who's doing 30, 40, 50 deals a year is that they will be more likely to find you something off market. As I've explained, there's a lot of paperwork. I mean, without a realtor, you'll likely need to hire a lawyer to make sure everything is in order, which at a lawyer's hourly rate could be quite expensive. Finally, buying a home, I mean, it's often an emotional decision. Without a realtor as a neutral third party, you may be prone to making decisions based more on emotions than on data. So is it wise to buy without a realtor? It really depends on how confident you feel navigating the process alone. Either way, if you're thinking about buying your home or even selling your home without a realtor, I hope this small guide can help you out on how to start that journey. If you made it to this point in the video, there's a good chance that you're thinking about buying your next home, investing in this area, buying a second home, or selling your current one. We'd love to be your real estate resource of choice, so just email me at david@brewingtonharbourys to get started. I mean, our team's the #1 team in Sonoma County with over 70 families helped in 2023 with nearly $80 million of property bought and sold. So whether you want to buy your dream home, buy a second home, buy a vacation rental, investment property, or you just want updates on homes that are coming on the market, then please do get in touch. And hey, before you go, if you like this video, you'll love my next video about everything you need to know before deciding to move to Sonoma County. There, I'll break down the A to Z of the different areas, what it's like living there, and way more besides, so make sure to check it out. See you in the next video.